What if I told you that the most powerful villain in Marvel history is not Thanos, not Magneto, and not even Galactus? What if I told you he is a man who lost everything? His mother, his face, his faith in humanity. And instead of breaking, he forged himself into something that gods and kings fear. He is a man who has defeated the Beyonder, who has stolen the powers of the Silver Surfer, who rules an entire nation with an iron fist, who has outsmarted Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, and Tony Stark combined. He is not a villain born of random chaos. He is a villain born of pain, of pride, of a wound that never healed. Doom does not beg. Doom does not plead. Doom demands. Today, we tell the full story of Victor Von Doom, the genius, the sorcerer, the king, the monster. And when we're done, you will understand why so many fans call him the greatest villain ever created. Let's begin. Our story begins in Latveria, a small, forgotten country in Eastern Europe, the kind of place that doesn't appear on tourist maps. It's cold, it's poor, and it is ruled by a cruel and corrupt baron. Victor Von Doom is born here. His mother, a woman named Cynthia. A woman so kind, so beautiful, so good, that it almost doesn't make sense that the universe would do to her what it does next. Cynthia Von Doom was desperate to save her people from suffering. She sought the aid of an ancient being born from Shadow Mephisto, hoping to gain the strength needed to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Mephisto agreed, but its help came with hidden consequences. It granted her powers drawn from darkness, yet those gifts carried a heavy price. Her spirit became bound to another realm, tethered there by forces beyond her understanding. Victor was just a boy. He didn't fully understand what happened to his mother, but he felt it. He felt the absence like a blade in his chest. That wound would never fully close. His father, Werner von Doom, was a physician, a healer, who was called by the Baron of Latveria on a bitterly cold winter night to treat the Baroness. Werner went. He had no choice. But the Baroness's condition was beyond medicine. When Werner couldn't cure her, the Baron turned cruel. Werner fled across the frozen mountains with young Victor strapped to his back, trying to escape. He sacrificed his coat to keep Victor warm. Werner von Doom froze to death on that mountain. Victor survived because his father chose him. Two parents, both lost to forces beyond his control, and Victor Von Doom was just getting started. Now, here is where Victor Von Doom becomes extraordinary. Not just tragic, but terrifying in his potential. After his father's death, Victor discovered something remarkable in their wagon. His father's bag. Inside were medical tools. And tucked next to them, his mother's sorcery kit. Ancient texts. Mystical instruments. Dark knowledge. Most people would choose one path. Science or magic, logic or mysticism. Victor said, "Why not both?" He taught himself. He studied science with the precision of a man who intended to outthink every scientist alive. He studied sorcery with the hunger of a man trying to save his mother's spirit from the shadow realm, both at the same time, both with equal obsession. By his teenage years, Victor Von Doom was already a phenomenon, a Roma boy from a poor country who had outpaced every academic in Latveria. Word spread, and a scholarship arrived from one of the most prestigious institutions in the world, State University, in New York City. Victor arrived in America carrying everything that defined him: genius, grief, pride, and a burning need to prove himself to a world that had already taken everything from him. And in those university halls, he would meet the one man who would accidentally become the source of his greatest obsession. A man named Reed Richards. Here is where every Doom story gets interesting, because this is where pride destroys a life. At university, Victor Von Doom was the undisputed top mind in every room, until Reed Richards walked in. Another genius, another exceptional intellect, and the one thing Victor could not tolerate was a rival. The two had a complicated relationship. Not outright enemies yet, but a constant electric tension of two brilliant men who both needed to be the best. Victor designed an experiment, a machine intended to contact the shadow realm where his mother's spirit was trapped. He was going to rescue her using science and sorcery combined. Reed Richards reviewed the calculations. He found an error, A small one, he told Victor. Victor dismissed it. His ego would not allow him to accept that correction from a peer. He ran the experiment anyway. It exploded. The blast scarred Victor's face. Not severely, most accounts suggest it was a relatively minor scar. But for a man of Victor von Doom's pride, any imperfection was catastrophic. Any flaw was an unbearable insult to his self-image. He was expelled from the university, and Victor, in his rage, in his pain, blamed Reed Richards. For the rest of his life, he would insist that Richards had sabotaged his calculations, that the brilliant man who corrected him had deliberately caused his failure. Was it true? Almost certainly not. But Victor von Doom needed it to be true, because the alternative, that he had made a mistake, was something he could not accept. Victor traveled to Tibet. He found an ancient order of monks who were masters of metallurgy and armor crafting. He spent time with them. He trained. He planned. And then he asked them to forge him a suit of iron armor, helmet, gauntlets, full body, a shell of metal that would make him untouchable. The mask was nearly finished when Victor, unwilling to wait even one more moment, demanded to wear it immediately. The monks warned him. The metal was still too hot. He put it on anyway. The iron seared into his face. The mask fused to his skin while it was still cooling. The sound of it, the smell of it, the pain of it. And Victor von Doom did not remove it. Think about that for a moment. That is not weakness. That is a man making a choice, a declaration. The face is gone. This mask is who I am now. This is my armor. This is my face. This is my identity. Some versions of the story say the scar from the explosion was tiny, barely visible. That Victor chose the iron mask not because he was disfigured, but because he couldn't bear the idea of any imperfection at all. That the mask was his way of saying, if I cannot be perfect, I will be invulnerable. Dr. Doom was born in that moment, not the man, not the scientist, not the sorcerer, the icon. Victor returned to Latveria, his home, the country that had taken everything from him, the land where his mother lost her spirit and his father froze to death. And he took it. He overthrew the ruling government. He installed himself as the absolute monarch of Latveria, king, emperor, ruler without challenge. And here is the thing that makes Doom genuinely complicated. He was a good ruler. Under Dr. Doom, Latveria became one of the most advanced nations on Earth. Clean, prosperous, defended by his army of Doombots. Sophisticated androids he built himself. The people were safe. They were fed. They were protected by the most powerful man on the planet. Doom gave them security. He gave them pride. In exchange, they gave him absolute loyalty and zero questioning of his methods. Is that a fair trade? Is a tyrant still a tyrant if his people flourish? Doom himself would say no. He would say he is simply the only honest ruler left in a world full of hypocrites. And then, with Latveria secured, he turned his full attention to the two things that would consume him forever: destroying Reed Richards and rescuing his mother's spirit from the Shadow Realm. One was personal, one was love. And Doom pursued both with equal ferocity. Now let's talk about why Dr. Doom is on a completely different level from almost every villain you've ever seen. Because this man isn't powerful in just one way. He is dangerous in every way simultaneously, and beyond all of that, Doom's greatest power might simply be his will, his absolute refusal to accept defeat as permanent. Every setback is a lesson. Every failure is a stepping stone. The man has been struck down, trapped in dark dimensions, lost his nation, and been erased from history. And he keeps coming back. Every single time. So let's end with the question that started this video. Is Dr. Doom the greatest villain ever created? Here's what I know. He is not evil for the sake of evil. He is not chaos wrapped in a costume. He is a man who suffered genuine, devastating loss, who was shaped by a world that was cruel to him before he was ever cruel to it. He chose pride over healing. He chose iron over vulnerability. And in doing so, he became something the Marvel Universe has never quite figured out how to stop. Because to stop Doom, you have to be smarter than Doom, more powerful than Doom, and more stubborn than Doom. No one has managed all three at once. Every year, once a year, Dr. Doom defeats the ancient entity in single combat and spends one day with his mother's freed spirit. Then he releases her back to safety. Then he fights again the next year. That is not a villain. That is a man who loves his mother so much, he crosses into the darkest realms for her, literally on an annual basis. Doom is many things. Cruel, yes. Proud, absolutely. Ruthless beyond measure. But he is also the only man in Marvel who has held the power of a god and chose to give it back. That's Dr. Doom, the greatest villain Marvel ever created. And maybe, just maybe, not entirely the villain he believes himself to be. If you want more deep dives like this, subscribe, drop your favorite Doom moment in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one. Doom commands it.